What is good, ladies and gentlemen? I'm back. I'm back to do a quick little update on some stuff that's been happening the past couple days. And the last stream was kind of my introduction back to say hello again and to give a general overview on, I guess, the macro conditions without getting too into detail about things. But now that we got that out of the way, I wanted to analyze what's happening now, currently, some micro analysis. Bitcoin, of course, just hit its all-time highs. It's at 111. So congratulations to everybody in crypto. Ethereum starting to move too. So I wanted to break down what we were talking about on the last stream and what I'm looking for and looking at. That's important. That's going to 100% affect everything on PulseChain. And then HEX, we see that big infamous wallet that was selling Pulse and PulseX recently that has 600 million hex just moved 300 million hex to what people call a sell wallet, and price is reacting to all of that. So I wanted to break it down and just give you guys my updated perspective and sentiment. So without further ado, let's talk about Ethereum real quick. So day chart, I was streaming 2 days ago. Ethereum was right here. This yellow dot was at. We're talking about the sideways channel that we're trading in. And yeah, just go back to that video from 2 days ago if you want to see exactly what I was, mentioning inside of this range. But we had the fake breakout, could have been a bear trap, could have been a start of a bearish breakout. Didn't really know that. We saw the price break under this range that was trading sideways, came up, tested this 200-day moving average, and you see it built a very strong resistance line. At least that's what it appeared to be. And then we see this nice engulfing candle right here just eat up that last downside candle, put us back in the range. We have one test on that resistance that flipped it to a moving support, at least temporarily, and then boom, price is ripping up back to the top of this range again. So pretty interesting to see it happen. And it's always nice seeing price go up, of course. But we haven't really had a breakout yet. So all that's been happening since May of 2025, June, July, so been 2 months straight, is we've just been flirting up and down inside of this range. No breakouts yet, except for this little potential bear trap, right? And then, by the way, you just extend this chart a little bit back to earlier this year, at the beginning there in January, similar area. If you extend that over, it's around the same range, you see. So this is a massive area to just pay attention to regardless of what's happening now. But obviously, there's a lot happening. So, yeah, we're starting to see a noticeable attempt at testing the top of this range. Now, what we want to pay attention to is if it's going to actually break through or not. Switch this to the weekly chart. I talked about this on last stream. You're looking at the 2,900, almost 3,000 range if this thing does break to the upside. Now, wicks, they're important, of course, but especially in the weekly chart, wicks on the weekly turn into a lot of candles in the daily and hourly. As you can see, if I draw a straight line here, you have this engulfing bullish candle back in 2024 that turned into attempt at creating a support line in 2025 that essentially became a resistance line on the start of this downtrend towards the middle of the year. So if this thing does break out, and this isn't a huge range I'm talking about, but with micro analysis, it matters. On the weekly chart, if this thing could break out of this yellow range that we're trading sideways in, I mean, I'm looking at a $3,000-ish, $2,900 test to fight the new battle. And of course, if and when price does break out of this range, I would expect some form of resistance. And then that's where you want to see price sort of bounce down and create a new support level on top of this range. If you could get a range here or a support level off of this range here, that would be very, very promising, especially if the market conditions still seem favorable. So that's something I'm paying attention to. Is it something that I think is going to happen? I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm just showing you what the chart's telling us. And obviously, if you break this thing down to like the 4 hour, let's delete these yellow lines. You look at the range, price already hit the top of the range and you already see the reaction, right? So no shocker there that there's some form of resistance, but it's nice to see that instead of price breaking down and confirming, a next leg on a bearish breakdown like that, it's nice to see that price fought its way back up. So there's a massive battle happening there in Ethereum, just a choppy market. So overall, we're still flirting in the same range that we were flirting with the other day. Just this time it's the top side as opposed to fighting this bottom level. So it's promising, but still have to wait and see. Now, these candles, there's not much structure there. And even if I'm doing micro analysis within this range, just kind of extend this line here, you see there's a lot of fighting going on in the price chart. Let me delete this thing. A lot of fighting going on in the price chart. You had a resistance level, bounces off the new support on the 200-day moving average, found a little bit of resistance there, created a miniature higher low, fought another resistance battle there, finally broke through. Like I said, these wicks, they look like they're nothing there. But if you bring this down, and this is 1 hour, this is crazy, but turn into a 1 hour, that wick actually turns into a break and retest, right? You're getting these micro waves inside of this actual, price chart. So this is really, really broken down on a micro level. But looking at this sort of range right here, if we get this resistance test, bounce back to the 2,600 ranges maybe. And right now we have nothing but momentum. Like this thing can keep ripping, right? That'd be a perfect world for everybody in crypto to see prices go up nonstop. But if we're just looking at the technicals, if it does pull back, does not mean it's a bad thing. Does not mean it's just a total fake out or a bull trap, so to say. It's just something where we're looking for structure within this whole range that we've been stuck in since the beginning of May this year. So that's what's happening in Ethereum. It's moving simultaneously while Bitcoin's at all-time highs. That's good. We want to see Ethereum move, especially for the people that are on PulseChain, because it's all correlated. So with that being said, let's go to PulseChain and look at everything now. And I'm going to try to make this stream as quick as possible. I know the last one was almost an hour. So I'm going to try to make this like within 20 minutes. Hang on. Stop screen. Share screen. Let's go to the PulseChain side of things. We make sure it's showing on the stream here. Okay, so we're going to pick up where we left off at on PulseChain last time. Looking at Pulse, I had this chart up, drew out the line of what I was expecting, assuming there was a breakout. And as you can see, I try not to delete these things just so we can kind of visit it in the future. And we drew up this little bit of a start. We had the sideways market, right? That was going in line with Ethereum sideways choppy market. Where's my box at? Sideways market here, correlating with Ethereum sideways market. But PulseChain had a little bit of a breakup. We saw the price come back down. And we were trying to find some support, right? Some previous resistance flipped to support. Looks like right now, don't want to jinx anybody. It looks like right now we're trying to make that leg up to fight that 0.3, but that 0.30 range, which this yellow line, like I told you guys, that's kind of my target. So if we're going to see Ethereum break out of this range, which hopefully we do in a perfect world, I would expect while Ethereum's flirting with 3K, we're seeing PulseChain flirt with that 310, or not 310, sorry, that 30 range. There's a bunch of zeros in front of it, 29 to 30. So somewhere in this general range. But it looks like right now, so far, so good. So that's a good sign. It all still depends, right? It's really an Ethereum thing. I'm not going to sit here and analyze Pulse, assuming that it's going to do something that Ethereum's not doing. So I would pay more attention to Ethereum and see what's happening on that chart in that market, because that's where the technicals apply more to a bigger, more liquid market like Ethereum rather than these markets. But they're kind of all correlated, except there's more volatility on our side of the world over here. So yeah, PulseChain, everything's kind of going according to the plan, according to the technicals. Nothing really broke structure that's shocking me. But what I really want to do is get on and talk about HEX. That's the one coin that had some fundamental stuff happen the past couple of days after my stream that really changed a little bit of the structure, right? So, and that's why I want to break down. And as I make these videos, I'm going to talk about the coins that have something happen to them, because yeah, I'm not going to sit here and redundantly just do technical analysis, just repeating myself as the days go on. So, but HEX gave us something to talk about. Bitcoin all-time highs, Ethereum gave us something to talk about. But anyways, so last time I was streaming, I'll go down to, let's go to 4 hours, since it was only, I don't even think it was more than 2 days ago I was on here. But anyways, last time I was streaming, we talked about, we had the choppy market in HEX. Now this is a smaller scale, but choppy sideways market like everything else that we're looking at. HEX decided to break out. Good sign. Hit some resistance. So we did talk about the price potentially pulling back, because that's just what happens. And even looking at this, like you zoom out, look at all this support here or potential support flip to resistance that flipped into support all right here, extended over. You got a little bit of a slowdown here, a bounce off of this line here, resistance confirmed here. Price tried to break it, confirmed as resistance on this pullback, resistance here, extended all the way over. Sure enough, you got resistance here. So the fact that HEX hit a critical level of previous support / resistance and decided to slow down, no shocker. But the shocker here was this candle right here, this big drop. We had that big wallet that everyone's been keeping an eye on. They had 600 million HEX liquid just sitting there doing nothing. And that person decided to move 300 million of the HEX to a sell wallet to who knows what. The speculation, obviously, in the community was the person's going to sell. There's even the argument that it's a psychological operation. Someone there, people are even hinting, oh, it might be Richard Hart. I have no idea who it is. I'm just giving you what I hear and what the market's telling us. So obviously there's people that are paying attention to that wallet and making moves based on that, because that wallet didn't even sell, but the price chart sold off. So there's people waiting to buy and sell based off of looking at wallets like that. And that's kind of how HEX has always been. And that's part of the reason why I stopped doing streaming and price predictions long ago, because I realized within the community, there's a lot of people that held a ton of HEX at the time when HEX was the only token that used my streams to kind of make their moves. And it didn't necessarily sit well with me because, yeah, I mean, I like doing streams and giving price predictions. That's all fun. But then I realized like the influence it had. That's why when I'm doing these streams, I'm analyzing the market, but I'm not predicting anything. I have no idea where anything's going. Now, of course, I make my own moves and trades based on what I think, but I'm not going to sit here and make random predictions for people because of stuff like that, especially knowing the sensitivity that people have with little things like watching analysis or watching streams or watching wallets per se. So anyways, the market sold down, but if you're looking at nothing but technicals, you see we had this choppy range. Price sold down, and this previous resistance that we've had, like price taps. We just kind of had this whole level up here. Let's move this resistance up a little bit so it's a little more clear. Like you have this range where price tried to make a support, broke under, confirmed resistance. I mean, price could not for the life of it for an entire month break through 3 weeks, break through this range till we actually finally broke out of it. Price came down, shot up. The wallet scared a ton of people and price shot down. But sure enough, it stopped around this range, right? So what we're seeing from just a technical perspective is we're trying to set a new support line, which in a perfect world, that would be great. If Ethereum and PulseChain move up, you can make the argument that this is going to be a new support line confirmed. Now, what happens if you watch my streams from years ago, everything I talked about with the impulses and the corrections, you get this corrective move and then you have this big candle, an impulsive candle. There's no structure within the candle, right? So anytime you get an impulsive candle, almost 100 times out of 100, unless it's a bear market or a rug pull, you're going to get at least 50% of that candle refilled, right? What do I mean by that? Halfway at this candle, you're going to expect at the very least, even if price wants to continue moving down or even go up, or no, sorry, if the price wants to continue moving down, you're always going to see bounces. Markets like to have that healthy correction and have a nice structure to it. So the fact that we had this impulse, it doesn't shock me that price decided to bounce, especially off of a previous resistance line that was so strong. Try to show some support, but at the same breath, the fact that it bounces up and it's starting to slow down a little bit halfway through this impulsive move, that's just basic stuff that, yeah, this move that we're seeing now, not necessarily confirming bullish structure, although you can make the argument trying to flip this resistance line to support. I see it as two ways. It's just the market's just doing what it naturally has to do to fill in structure just so it can proceed on with this next move. So now, if you're going to guess the sentiment, well, real quick, let me show you the daily chart because that was micro analysis on a 4-hour, I believe. Looking at this, I mean, yeah, you got a double wick trying to break through this range that price couldn't necessarily break through on the flip side previously. That's a good sign, right? What you would want to see is this daily candle close above this yesterday's candle to engulf it, so to say. That would be a good sign. But also, too, again, if you're looking at these altcoins on the layer 2 chain, you want to see what's happening with Ethereum specifically. By the way, I don't know if you see this up here. It says 555 50% move of Ethereum right now. It's a big number for us in the HEX world. But yeah, pay attention. So technically speaking, you want to watch Ethereum. Ethereum's going to tell us the most, right? Based on what Ethereum's doing, all this stuff is going to follow. Ethereum moves to the upside, this is going to move a lot higher. Now, if Ethereum starts to go flirt with 3K and PulseChain flirts with the 3.0 range, I would expect HEX to follow suit and get over this little range of trying to engulf this candle and confirm a little bit of bullish structure and start to work its way back up to the upper sixes, and then eventually fight this battle again up here at this 67 range of 6.7 tenths of a penny. But I won't get too far ahead of myself. All I'm looking at is what's happening right here, right now. So yeah, so you can make the argument either way. But again, looking at it with the context, knowing that HEX is basically reliant on what Ethereum's doing right now, Ethereum's giving us a good idea. So hang on. Yeah, so overall, I mean, if I'm just looking at a 4-hour chart, this just looks nothing more than an impulse correction, which usually leads to another impulse down. So you could make the micro analysis that HEX wants to push its way down. We're just getting a natural correction to this temporary resistance. Now, the only argument is it's not as strong of a resistance as this old resistance can be support today. So yeah, that's really where we're at. That's what I'm looking at. So what I'm looking at right here, right now, is what is HEX going to do around this 6/10 of a penny range? What's going to happen? Once we see what happens there, if it's going to just force its way down and spend more time in the 5 range rather than the 6 range, it's probably going to tell us more bearish than anything. But again, not to be too repetitive, keep an eye on Ethereum for the actual technicals, because this is a very illiquid coin and anything can happen at any point. I mean, it didn't take much money to sell this candle all the way down. So it goes both ways. It doesn't take a massive amount of selling to really rip down. It doesn't take a massive amount of buying to really rip up. So just take the analysis on HEX itself with a grain of salt. But at least for me, I'm going to just pay attention to what's happening here. And then once the chart shows us kind of the idea that it has, that's when I'll go again live on here and update my my sentiment, maybe my bias. Right now, I'm just hopeful that price goes up. I'm a holder. I'm invested into these coins, and I want to see price go up. Now, have we been getting that for 4 years? Absolutely not. So it's nothing but hope there. But yeah, overall, I feel optimistic on the ecosystem. I feel very optimistic about where we stand at this stage of the market. I feel like the bad part is behind us. I don't think the price is going to go straight up or straight down anytime soon. I just am starting to really dive deep into the technicals and the correlation with Ethereum, because I do think Ethereum is going to eventually have its day here soon. And we're all, one rising wave is going to lift all the ships. So yeah, that's all I'm going to do for now for today. Pay attention to that. And then next time something really develops, once we sort of see what happens here, I'll be live again. And until then, I will see you guys later. Adios.